Well, good morning. Welcome to Christ Congregational Church. It's great to be here with you this morning on this beautiful spring, first Sunday of May. As always, at Christ Congregational Church, we welcome and celebrate people of all races, cultures, ages, abilities, sexual orientations, and gender identities. My name is Matt Braddock. I'm the senior minister here, and on behalf of the staff and leadership and members of the church, we welcome you, especially if you're joining us for the first time today, or if you are checking us out online, either on Facebook or one of our other live streams, either here on Sunday morning or catching this later in the week. We're so glad you're spending some of your time with us. We know that our time is so valuable and that we can take some time together in this virtual space and connect with one another and experience some good news is really important for us. So thanks for being part of this today. A few announcements before we begin our worship. First of all, if you are visiting with us or a new visitor or returning visitor to our church and like to let us know more about yourself, there is a form you can fill out online. You can let us know more about yourself. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks to members of our Green team who hosted a great event yesterday, a tour of the church and other church members' homes of checking out native plants in our gardens. Really beautiful day for that. So appreciate everyone who opened up their homes and people who are at the church and able to participate in that yesterday. There's one more Green Team event coming up next weekend on Saturday and Sunday. If you sign up online for the pledge that they have to help support the planting of native species here in Maryland, you can receive a number of free native plants to have in your own garden. And so check out our webpage, check out the emails that are coming out for the link to that and the description of that event that's coming up next Saturday and Sunday. Pick up at, we'll be outside at the church. And I also have seen emails going around from Because We Care that they are putting together some grief resources, especially around Mother's Day, which is next weekend. We know that as we honor and celebrate mothers, for some, this can be a painful time of remembrance, especially for those who freshly lost mothers and important women in our lives. And so there'll be some grief resources coming out this week, posted on the webpage. And there'll be some links to that in our weekly emails that go out too. Excuse me. So be on the lookout for that as well. And then also be looking for upcoming events in our newsletters. You'll see not only is next week Mother's Day, the week after that, the third Sunday of May, we're having another installment of our Songwave series, and we'll be having another local singer-songwriter who will be leading worship with us that day, and really hoping you take that opportunity to invite friends and neighbors and family, and especially young adults who might appreciate that kind of vibe to join our service. I'm sorry, that's in a couple weeks. On the 16th, before that, we're going to be having a celebration of AAPI Heritage Month, and lots of plans going into that. And we're going to be blessed and honored to welcome Reverend Dr. Grace Kim, who will be preaching with us, joining our worship service and preaching that day as well. So we're really excited to have Grace join our worship service that day. I think she's confirmed that with us. So that's May 16th. And then May 23rd will be our Songwave service. All of that's online. Be checking those emails when you get them. If you do not receive those for one reason or another, please be in touch. We're happy to sign you up. And I know sometimes people have technical details with this too. We're always trying to work that out with each other. I'd like to thank Ann Marshall for being our lay reader today, who I recruited about 5.5 minutes ago. So I appreciate you doing that for us today. I appreciate those who were able to participate in the Central Atlantic Conference spring meeting yesterday. And here it was a good meeting. I was not able to attend that, but we had a number of our delegates who were part of that. So there'll be some information coming out about resolutions that were approved at that meeting. And so be on the lookout for that in our newsletters as well. And finally, thank you to Spencer and Audrey, who have been working hard and providing special music for us today. They are in the sanctuary with Sam Wack. And so I'd like to turn it over to them as we center and settle ourselves into this worship space. So thanks so much for helping out with worship today. We'll turn it over to you. Let us worship God. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. And My eyes skipped ahead on our order of worship as we were starting the service today. So I'm going to invite Ann Marshall to lead us in our call to worship and then go directly into our first scripture reading from Psalm 23. So thank you, Ann. Whoops, Ann, are you there?
I'm here and I'm unmuted now too.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
We gather in the presence of our shepherd God, who calls us each by name, who restores our souls, who leads us in the way of righteousness, and whose goodness and love never stops pursuing us. This is the God we have come to worship. The first scripture reading is Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures. God leads me beside still waters and restores my soul. God leads me in right paths for God's name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life long.
Great, thanks so much. We invite you to take a moment to share words of peace, words of welcome, of belonging, of support, something positive just to spread some light today during our service. And so we do that in our chat function. If you're on Zoom, if you're watching this on Facebook and want to type something in the comments, we invite you to do that too. The peace of Christ be with you at this time. We invite you to share words of peace with one another. As you continue to share those words of peace and light and hope with one another, we're going to go back to the sanctuary with Sam and Audrey and Spencer.
For
Great. Thanks so much again. Really appreciate you being here and sharing with us today. Okay, we're going to try something different today. Zoom has enabled automatic transcription, like closed captioning. And I know some people have been asking for this. So during the sermon today, I'm going to enable this. We'll see how it works. It might transcribe something totally different than what I'm saying, but it'll be fun no matter what. Our scripture readings today come from the book of Revelation, chapter 4, verse 3, and also reading from John's Gospel, chapter 14, starting in verse 6, and these are coming from the New Living Translation. The first verse from Revelation chapter 4 is John's vision of the throne room of God. It says the one sitting on the throne was as brilliant as gemstones, like jasper and carnelian, and the glow of an emerald circled the throne like a rainbow. And then a familiar verse from John's Gospel, Jesus told them, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one can come to God except through me. That's John 14, verse 6. So this is how the author James Baldwin tells the story. The joint, as Fats Waller would have said, was jumping. During the last set, the saxophone player took off on a terrific solo. He was a kid from some insane place like Jersey City or Syracuse, but somewhere along the line, he had discovered he could say it with a saxophone. He stood there, wide-legged, filling his barrel chest, shivering in the rags of his 20-odd years, and screaming through the horn, do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? And again, do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? The same phrase, unbearably, endlessly, and variously repeated with all the force the kid had. The question was terrible and real. The boy was blowing with his lungs and guts out of his own short past. And somewhere in the past, in gutters or gang fights in the acrid room under the smell in the precinct basement, he had received a blow from which he would never recover. And this no one wanted to believe. Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? The men on the stand stayed with him, cool and at a little distance, adding and questioning. But each one knew that the boy was blowing for every one of them. So let's just admit something. Everyone you see, you say to them, do you love me? It's the dilemma of the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz, isn't it? He wants to love and be loved, but he claims to have no heart. If he even dares to shed a tear, he rusts in place. Like many people who are afraid to give and receive love, people who've received a blow from which they have not recovered. The Tin Man's metal body and joints lock up when he has feelings. His journey to Emerald City takes him into the heart. Do you remember falling in love and how it made everything in the world seem wonderful and right? Can you connect with a moment when even hard times could not diminish your capacity for love of self and love of others? So the lover is an archetype that is common in myths and fables, movies, poetry. The psychologist Carl Jung described archetypes as these universal symbols, primordial instincts that are shared by an entire species. All humans share these primordial images, these archetypes, regardless of nationality, culture, or era they live in. So today we're going to explore another called the lover, sometimes known as the friend, partner, team builder. The lover is all about creating lasting, meaningful relationships. Lovers thrive in situations that bring them closer to the things they love. And the lover works best under mutually beneficial connections. Lovers are no strangers to dedication and commitment. They show appreciation and gratitude for others. So of course, in our culture, we equate love with the heart. For today, let's think of the heart like an emerald throne room, a place of spiritual integration. In the book of Revelation, the last book of our Bible, we get this image of the risen Christ sitting on a throne. It's surrounded by jewels. It's glowing with like an emerald rainbow. The author of the book was named John, and he had visions on an island, remote island between modern day Greece and Turkey. At that time, ancient Christians were trying to figure out who they were, what they believed. And it was messy, it was confusing. Behind the challenges of conflict between church and synagogue, and the constant threat of violent rulers, behind the struggles and difficulties of ordinary life, John has a vision of the heart of God, this glorious heavenly throne room. It's surrounded by a prism of emerald rainbow light. Speaking of prisms, we owe our knowledge of those to Sir Isaac Newton. One day, as Newton was in his room at Trinity College in Cambridge, sunlight shot through a narrow slit in the shutters and struck the glass prism on his desk. And Newton noticed that white light split into the colors of the rainbow, and it dawned on him that light was a complex unity of different colors. Well, in John's vision of the throne room, God is light in the sense that John can see the light of God as loving, wrathful, merciful, judging, and just, all at once, variegated and one. We get a similar vibe in the throne room of Oz in the Emerald City. When Dorothy and her friends enter to see the wizard, it is glorious and terrifying. This is the heart of Oz, where the seekers and the hucksters, the powerful and the weak, the mature and the maturing all come together. These places act like a physical heart. It's the nexus of the body where oxygen replete and oxygen infused blood meet. Well, our spiritual and emotional lives also have an emerald heart room. That space is open and balanced when we are loving to ourselves and the world around us. Sometimes we close that space off. We've been hurt, betrayed, violated. We can become distrustful of others. We received a blow from which we have not recovered. Yeah, we want to protect our heart spaces. And sometimes we do that by pretending to be more or less than we really are. We put on a mask or a persona to fit in. Instead of a lover, we become an actor playing a role. Jung called this archetype the conformist. It's an unhealthy expression of the closed off heart. The actor, the conformist, they're afraid of being taken advantage of or hurt. And when someone gets too close to our vulnerable core, we might do something to sabotage the relationship rather than exposing ourselves for more hurt and betrayal. The actor will play a role, maybe acting tough or callous, or the wounded heart might take on the role of a chameleon, blending in with others so as not to stick out and become a target. The hurting heart hopes to find a star who will heal them of their pain, but it also might be unwilling or incapable of returning love. It cries out with a rhythmic beat, "Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me?" And when someone draws close with the answer, the heart of the conformist may then draw back and close up. The way to begin to change this archetype is to allow oneself to be open to love. Easier said than done. So let me just ask some questions. Are you able to be open and honest about your feelings with another person? How much love do you feel for yourself? Can you experience love for yourself when you are unhappy or lonely? Do you know how to stay with someone through the unpleasant and hard times when communication is blocked because of blame or resentment? Can you allow your loved ones to be themselves? Can you be true to your feelings in a relationship without sacrificing or losing your sense of self? Can you love someone as they are and not expect them to change for you? Can you love yourself enough to be the way you are in a relationship? These questions are not a test. They are a way to help us understand our capacity to love others and ourselves. You see, when the soul and the heart are balanced and aligned, they can lead us to paths of righteousness where there are green pastures and cool waters to restore the soul. In our Christian tradition, we talk about knowing Jesus as the path to love. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to God except through me. Now, a lot of times when people quote this verse from John's gospel, they say it in an exclusionary way. Some people want you to think that God has endless punishment for you unless you follow Jesus alone. And all other ways of knowing God are false because Jesus is the only way. So let's open our hearts a little, shall we? Let's get rid of that either or win-lose thinking. Perhaps Jesus is saying something like this: we cannot really come to know God until we open our hearts to love. The way, the truth, and the life are not about exclusionary faith, but about learning how to love and be loved. That's the beauty of the gospel. You don't need to carry around heavy burdens of doubt or self-contempt or inadequacy. You don't have to wear a mask. You don't have to pretend to be someone else to get God to love you. Our hearts cry out, screaming, do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? Unbearably, endlessly. The question is terrible and real. And the way of Jesus leads us to a God who says, I've come to you. I've come in human likeness so that I may fully know you and you may fully know me. So yeah, I love you. Love is the way and the truth and the light. And if you want to know me, God says, then live in love. Do you love me? A broken heart fills the entire body with throbbing loneliness and grief. You know what? That's love. Do you love me? When a smile fills up the entire body with happiness, that's love. Do you love me? One person's joy makes the entire body ecstatic, and another's pain makes the entire body catch its breath, and that's love. Do you love me? When love says, I need your presence in my sorrow. I need your assurance when I am sick. I need your hope when I am discouraged. I need your warmth when the world grows cold. I need us as members of a body, as a community, to find unity in our good and compassionate God. I invite us to take a moment to reflect, to listen, to pray, to meditate, to simply sit silence. Maybe you're at a place where the windows are open like me and you can hear the birds and feel a little bit of breeze. Whatever it takes to put yourself in a position to continue to hear from the Spirit together as a community of faith. Let us take a moment to do that together. We think about love as we prepare ourselves for the sacrament of communion today. If you have something to drink and a cup to share and some bread or a cracker or a naan or a cookie or a rice cake or something to break and bless wherever you're worshiping from today, this time we certainly invite you to take that, and we will have communion together. So our process has been that after some prayers, we invite everyone to partake of the bread and cup at their own. If you're with others, you can share that with them. If you're by yourself, you simply break the bread and take the cup, and know that wherever you are, in whatever situation you find yourself at this time, we are brought together in unity in this meal. We always celebrate an open communion table at Christ Congregational Church. That means we never exclude anyone. We never turn anyone away. We don't have a creed or some kind of faith litmus test that you must ascribe to before we feel you are worthy to take communion. It's not our business to judge. You are invited, you are welcome, because God is love. And this table represents the unity of that love, and one expression of that we have as a community of faith. So welcome, whether you come with great faith or with great doubt, or wherever you are on your spiritual journey, however you got here to this place today, know that you are embraced at this table. I asked Ann Marshall to join me in these words of invitation, and let me share them with you here if you prefer to read along. And thank you, Ann, for joining us in doing this today too. Hear these words of invitation. For Holy Communion this morning, we sanctify our time and many tables for a sacrament never confined to sanctuaries or precious surfaces, but always following wherever one of God's precious people, like a sheep astray, is lost or needs a guide.
Christ is our shepherd. In the loneliest lockdown, we do not want for companionship.
In our homes with distance learning and never catching our breath, we find an inner source of still waters.
In the soul-stretching days of healthcare professionals, National Guard nurses, and community volunteers who guide us through the vaccination process, decision makers, and essential workers with daily risk, we meet a restorer of souls.
In places of assisted living, correctional facilities, shelter, immigration detention, nursing home, housing for those who are simply poor, we find a leader, a staff to lean on, a rod that points a new way. Christ leads us, not around it, but through the valley of the shadow, and turns to us.
Give the gentle shepherd who is the risen Christ your bread, your cup, and your heart.
We have bread and cup and heart. Our church community is dispersed in distance, but we are one in Christ. In your many kitchens and living rooms, rest your hands lightly upon these elements that we set aside today to be a sacrament. Let us ask God's blessing upon them and upon us and upon those who are in our prayers this morning. Gentle host, you prepare a table before us and the threats all around us. You anoint our hearts. Bless our bread and our cup overflows. Surely as we shelter at home, we find both the goodness and the community and mercy to those most vulnerable. Now and all the days of our lives, we claim that these many houses where we dwell are the house of God. Send your spirit of life and love, power and blessing upon your people who partake at home, so that this bread may be broken and gathered in love, and this cup poured out to give hope to all. Risen Christ, live in us that we may live in you. Breathe in us that we may breathe in you. Amen. And would you join me in these words of sharing the elements? We offer you the bread of life for all who hunger.
The cup of compassion for a broken world.
He whose table was open to all is now present in this bread.
He whose word welcomed friend and stranger offers friendship through this cup.
With people everywhere, we affirm God's goodness at the heart of humanity, planted more deeply than all that is wrong. These are the gifts of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. We invite you to partake at home. I'm going to go off mute for a moment and send it back to the sanctuary where Sam will lead some music during communion. Take and eat and drink. Thank you, Sam. We do want to take a few moments to pray for one another, to offer moments to share joys and concerns, especially if you have specific prayer requests, if you have people that are on your heart and mind and soul, and you'd like to share that with the rest of the church and join together in prayer. Go ahead and share those now. We do share those in the chat or in the comments on Facebook, and know that as you share those, I collect all of the typed prayer requests and publish those Monday in my senior minister newsletter. If you have private prayer requests and would like to be in direct contact with me, you can do that too. Just if it's something confidential, please make sure you let me know that so I don't accidentally publish that. But if you have prayer requests, you can go ahead and share those in the chat now. We'll take a moment to lift those up and read those and be praying with each other. And as those are being typed, let's join together in prayer. God, we thank you for this day that you have made, for a chance to rejoice and be glad, for a chance to be at peace and reflect on love, for a chance to be reminded, God, that you are our shepherd, that we shall not be in want, that you lead us beside those cool waters, that your rod and your staff protect us, that even when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we don't need to be afraid, for you are with us. Thank you for those promises of comfort and presence, and for all the ways you call us to be that living presence and comfort and peace in a hurting and love-starved world. We think of those special needs represented in our congregation here today. We think of those who are having procedures done, those who are facing health problems. We think of the ongoing social crises in our community and our world that are begging for faith-filled responses, and pray that you, God, would continue to inspire us and lead us to be people who live out our faith by working for compassionate justice. And as we do that, to also be people who come together and pray and seek your knowledge and will, who listen to your spirit and become attentive to the ways that we can refine our approach and then go back into the world and continue to serve you by serving the aims of love. Turning to our chat, again, if you have specific prayers you'd like to share, you can go ahead and do that now. So a prayer for mothers, God's blessing upon them. Prayers for our students in their final exams and projects, and safe travels for those returning home shortly. Allison saying that Joy will be returning for the summer to intern at an urban farm and with Charlie. So safety to them as they travel. Now our college students are setting themselves up for the summer. Sandy writes, upon returning from New York, where Rachel and Hugo are settling into their new place together, she slipped on the bottom step of basement stairs and broke her metatarsal on her foot. So she's in the boot and being looked after by neighbors and by Elia. Sorry to hear that, Sandy. We'll be praying for your healing, steadiness, and wholeness, and a full healing. Excuse me. Jim's asking for prayers for Katie, who's hoping to hear good news about a job. Maureen and Tony asking for prayers for teachers and students who are returning to in-person school. Others are remaining in virtual learning spaces. And everyone's trying to figure out this strange hybrid time of learning. So definitely calls for a lot of patience and creativity. So definitely continue to pray for those in our educational systems. Continued prayers, as Sandy says, for healthy healing for others. Prayers for June Leonard as she heals from a fall. Thanks for sharing that, Joan. Chris is praying for a mom she knows that needs the strength and support to make some difficult decisions that will keep herself and her daughters safe. So we're praying for wisdom and resources for that family. Natalie's asking prayers for a neighbor who had a tree fall into their house Friday evening. Those winds were wild on Friday and Saturday, so lots of damages. We'll be praying for them. Thanks for sharing that, Natalie. Kathy's offering gratitude for this beautiful day and for Kira receiving her first vaccine shot yesterday. So yes, thankful for that. And so many doses going into arms lately. We're glad that the pace has picked up for that, and looking forward to people fully vaccinated. And prayers for childcare workers, teachers, and parents. Definitely keep them all in mind. You can continue to add prayers to the chat or in the comments as the service goes on. And again, I will collect those and put those out on Monday. As we end our service today, we take time to always reflect on these moments of generosity that we have to offer and receive, to show some gratitude for the support we receive as a church, but all the ways that we are blessed, even during hardship and times with terrible news. And there's still these shining moments where we kind of get these hopeful glimpses that God is on some kind of throne, even a symbolic, metaphorical throne, however you interpret that. There's a beating heart of love that we are still connected to. And for that, I'm always extremely grateful. And for you, just for spending your time, your resources, your energy and creativity and love to find ways to enact your faith and use that to help others claim and share their own power in our community as well. So 1,000 thanks. We have a number of ways to give to the church. We do prefer people send checks because there's no bank fees attached to those, but certainly there's some online giving options as well. And thank you for your continued support. And with that, one more time back to the sanctuary with Sam and Audrey and Spencer. Thank you. Great. Thanks again for sharing your music with us. Really appreciate you being here today. And thanks to all of you again for joining us. A quick note, if you are here with us on Zoom, we move right into some virtual breakout rooms, some coffee hour rooms, and those are set up for you. They are self-selecting. If you are a new or returning visitor, there's one room set up specifically for you if you choose to enter that, and I'll be in there for a few moments if to get to know one another. If you have any questions about the church or the service today, otherwise, feel free to join one of those breakout rooms and we will help you to do that as well. Now, may God bless you and keep you. May God be gracious to you. May God shine light upon you and grant you peace. In the name of our God of love, Creator, Christ, and Spirit. Amen.